Well, there. It says I'm live, but I do not know, for I do not see myself upon this show. I left that hanging, didn't I? Good evening, Carol. As always, good to see Carol's here. You want to get up and say hi? Huh? You want to get up and say hi? Teddy come bouncing up here a few minutes ago, and he jumped up on his chair, and he jumped up on the arm of his chair, and he just had his face up here. But I said, "You need to do that once the show starts, buddy. Not beforehand. He's not gonna. He's just not gonna. He's not gonna do it." I was just looking at some things that I've been sent, including some things that that you sent me about this stuff, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. He wants a raise. Yeah, that's true. He might do it. Hey, Mike, you got here just in time, buddy. You weren't late. He thought he might be late tonight. Carol thinks Teddy wants a raise if he's going to make public appearances. I'm afraid you're probably right. That's what bothers me. He wanted to argue about his contract a long time ago, but if you could see him, he just sprawled out here in the chair beside me. Looks like he really does do a great imitation of a meatloaf. I mean, I give him snacks. I don't know what else he wants. He really don't have any use for money. How is your mom tonight, Mike? If you don't mind my asking. My door is open, but Brenda's not complaining, so maybe she's either not on or B, she's in her sewing room and doesn't hear me from here, so that'd be good. Well, I didn't get my flags all hung up. I wanted to have my flags hung tonight, but I did get my Irish flag up. And apparently there's some controversy about the Irish flag. And I did not know this, but here's just a little factoid. Apparently there's oh gosh, now I can't remember what country it is. One of the Ivory Coast in Africa is the exact same color scheme but reversed. And apparently a lot of people have Ivory Coast flags that they believe to be Irish flags. And I found out I do have the right one. It should always be green first and the orange last for an Irish flag. Ivory Coast, it starts with the orange and goes to the green. Didn't know that. When I first read about it, I didn't know which one I had. I didn't know if I had the right one or not. Now I figured it out. When it comes to tricolors, as they're called, and there's so many of them around Europe. I mean, you got to figure out what colors are first. I mean, you got a lot of red, white, and blue used, even Russia and France, and seems like there's somebody else with a red, white, and blue scheme. One goes one way, one goes this way. I had no idea either, Carol, until somebody pointed it out to me. I put a post on Instagram. I said, "Well, I don't know which one's which, so tell me if I mean, tell me." And so somebody posted some stuff on there explaining it, and fortunately, I do have the right one. I didn't want to be flying the. I mean, I don't have anything against Ivory Coast, but I didn't want to be misrepresenting their flag. What you got? Something in your fur, buddy. Right there. Something sticky. What have you been into? Huh? What have you been into? He wanted me to go to the couch, but I told him I had other things we had to do. We had to go on the interwebs. Mike said, just got back from the hospital from feeding her, spending a bit of time with her. Well, that's good. Don't rush home to me or us, because we'll be here. We have Belgian and German flags here in our collection. And are they the same colors, Carol? Because I mean, it seems like they're very similar. Seems like I've looked at those too. Hello, Diana. Welcome in. Sure hope you brought the donuts, because Mike said he didn't have time. Well, Mike and Diana both, you were right. The Russians are certainly trying to get that drone. I know that's not the usual topic of most discussions, but I thought I'd throw that out there. I've seen some more info. Actually, you sent me that recording this morning or today, and I actually saw that on the news this morning. Pretty amazing. I mean, I don't know, I don't know if their technology is not really as good as ours, if that's what they actually showed there, or if they just didn't think about it. But I mean, they should have known we could see them on the cameras on the drone. Vertical and horizontal. See, that's what I mean. They're the same colors and maybe even oriented the same. I know there's black and I can't remember what colors they are now. I know it's black and it's not orange too, is it? Um, Sorry guys, I've got a tune in my head. I can't get it out. It's not a bad tune. I just can't whistle it very well. What did Diana say? I'm German and can't remember what the flag looks like. That's okay, Diana. It's I understand. I get that. Well, where are the flags? And I thought there was more flags now on the emoji list. Black, yellow, and red. Okay. So they're the same order, black, yellow, and red. It's just one's horizontal and one's vertical. Let me guess. Are the Germans are horizontal? And that's probably wrong. And don't, you're too young for that, Diana. Don't start that yet. Ah, see, I thought they were horizontal stripes, but I couldn't remember. You know how, and you know why I even know part. Well, I know part of that because I've looked at flags, but the Olympics, I always try to learn them in the Olympics, so I know who's what teams. Usually they have, that their flags are usually somewhere on their uniforms or on their bobsleds, or and that's where I've seen that. In fact, I think that's why I know that Belgium and Germany were the same colors. Oh, they're black, red, yellow, and Belgium is black, yellow, red. Okay. I mean, where did that come from? You reckon all over Europe? I mean, you have that. You like the Russians even, and the French and the Italians, but they're different. They're green and oh shoot, I can see it in my mind. Bunch of the racers, motorcycle racers that were Italians used to wear that on their helmets. But anyway, at least Canada's flag is easy to identify. Yes, it is. I can't think of anybody else that's got a big leaf on their flag, much less a big maple leaf. One of my favorite candies, the little maple candies that are shaped like a leaf, or just maple sugar, basically. Oh, man, I like those things. I like sugar. Let's just face it, but I do like I like those candies. I guess I would say the United States flag is somewhat unique, but I don't know. Nigeria's flag used to be similar because they not Nigeria, Libya. I think that probably all. I think it's Libya. No, Liberia maybe. Oh, Diana, you can't say that out loud. You'll be excommunicated or deported or something. Carol gets it. She likes them too. Oh, do they? The only place around here I've ever seen them is there's a store down in one of the shopping centers west of us that has, they call themselves a World Market or something, and they have a lot of import stuff from European countries and just everywhere. But they also always have a lot of candies and breads and cookies and biscuits, and they sell them. Brenda used to get me one occasion. I'm a bad Canadian. You're probably a good Canadian. You just don't. You just well, you're. I'm going to stop before I get in trouble. I was going to say you're a really good person. Maybe you're the Canadian part. Some people might say that about me too. Not that I'm a good Canadian, that I'm not a good American, but I beg to differ with them. Just because I don't agree with what some part of the moral majority might think is correct. Don't go that far, okay? Oh, back to the Russian thing for a minute. They showed them dumping fuel on that bird and coming up behind it and everything. I really wish they'd got caught the picture where they hit the prop. Maybe they did, and they just don't want to show that one. But it's pretty obvious when you see those pictures that prop blade's bent, and it didn't get bent that way from flying through, cloudy turbulence or anything like that. Oh, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. If anybody ever asks, I'm going to send them up your way. You know what, Mike? I thought about that too. I don't know if that drone was armed, but some of them certainly are, and I think some of them certainly could have. Um, I don't know. I don't know if that one was or if it was purely reconnaissance, but since they were flying it where they were flying it, it may not have been armed. Um, I'd like to know more about the self destruct mode or um, whatever they did inside it to get rid of the information. Yeah, I hope it was kind of. You ever see the movie? Oh, one of my favorite movies, Tom Hanks. Um, oh come on, about Holy Grail. Jeez, I can't think of it. But they had that little device that had the map in it that showed where the Holy Grail was, and or the evidence of whatever. And it had a vial of vinegar or acid in it that if it was incorrectly opened, it would break and destroy the map. So that's what I envisioned it being something kind of like that. It sprayed acid all over the inside of the vehicle and destroyed everything. Good evening, Brenda. Okay, now why does it say hand pink waving, but there's no? Oh, there it is. Huh, interesting. You're a good American, Tim, but some might think you're a bad Tennessean. Oh, I guarantee you that's true, Carol. Had a friend of mine I went to college with. He was a bit younger than me, but he was a really good guy. He went on to get a PhD in mammals and studied bears and things and did a lot of that kind of work. But now I don't know what he's doing right now. His wife works for the U.S. Forest Service, but he decided to get into politics. And after the last series of elections, he ran a couple years for like local positions, state congressman. I don't think he ran for the Senate. But he couldn't get elected. He said he just given up the last time I talked to him because he said it just his political leanings in the state of Tennessee, you couldn't get elected that way. Oh, Tom Hanks and they were in the Louvre and the Holy Grail, and the story lasted like 12 hours, but it seemed like it was a book about this thick, but it was all happened in like one night. It was a great book. Dan Brown wrote it. Somebody will think of it in a minute. I bet it did, Mike. I think it had some kind of self-destruct mechanism in it, at least to destroy any technical information they didn't want somebody else to see. But some might say, well, they might have just said that to make us think they did. But I bet it had something. And who knows? Maybe once it got to the bottom, they triggered it. You know. Yes, the Da Vinci Code. Thank you, Carol. Thank you. I just needed that little something to kick it out of my head. I don't know if you've ever read that book or watched the movie. It's a great movie, but the book was really good too. And what was fascinating to me about the book is it was written, the entire book, everything that happened in the book took place in like I said, less than 24 hours. Well, maybe 24 hours, but you realize you're halfway through the book and you realize that we're still in the same night. This is just a few hours later, and all this has happened. It was a very interesting way to proper writing. I just cleaned these off. Give me a minute here to let my eyes adjust. And you said Dan Brown. Oh, it made me remember part of the name. Okay, well, good. Well, you work good that way then, Carol. I may call you if I call you up some night and just fling a word at you or something. You'll know why. Just shoot back whatever comes in your mind first. We'll probably be right on it. Me too, Mike. Although I have to confess, I didn't see the last one they did. Something about fire, and I'm excused for not knowing that one because I didn't read the book or see the movie. But I want to. I have a feeling it was a bit different than the first two, but the first book I thought was awesome. Really enjoyed that book. I need to make sure I've got that in my book. Which is something to think about for a minute. No, nothing wrong with Tom Hanks. I guess you could be in love with Tom Hanks. Hell, he's about our age anyway. My darling spouse got me this quite a few years ago, and I have started writing down, all the books I've read in my life, and unfortunately, I haven't nearly finished it, but I have some sections filled up. And in this area, I don't have all their books, so I didn't want to write them all down until I'd read them all. And now I've read about 20 of the Joe Leaphorn series books by Tony Hillerman, and I don't have any of those in here yet. But it's a neat book, and one that I really liked and appreciated because of what books mean to me. That's why when I see people I smell them. When I hear people are burning books and anywhere, but especially in this country, in my own state, it just makes me want to throw up. I believe books are sacred. And I don't think they have to be necessarily a religious, just a religious writing or about it. I think all books should be, because there's most books you can learn something. Some books you learn a lot. If I'm going to have a secret crush, it's going to be on someone young with a six pack. I just saw somebody posted about a six pack a minute ago, and I'm taking it you don't mean a six pack of beer. No, or cookies. That's right, Carol. Cookies and books do not need to be burned. What's the matter with many kickers? Okay, Mike. I don't know what that means. You're going to have to help me with that. Oh, my cookies are done. I just thought you said the cookies are done. Ha, mine. That's good to know. I love the word "your cookies" in front of when it's addressed to me. I don't know what many kickers. That's got me. I'm missing something. There's funny. Another book on my shelf over there that's actually not got any. It's not. You wouldn't think it's about books or the love of books or the value of books. But hey, Tony, welcome in. We're just still kind of chatting here a minute. But it's got there's some great stories by the guy that wrote, and the guy that wrote the book is the same guy that wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull, if you've ever seen that book, read that book. So here I am with a nice beer, but no donuts or cookies. Oh, Carol. Oh, I'll tell you a secret. Go to I don't know where you would go to get them. If you've got a store there locally, Whole Foods or something that sells um, carob covered raisins, like the white carob, or I guess chocolate ones. I mean, dark chocolate too, probably. Those things are great with a good cold beer. I never would have thought it, but they are. Anyway, there's stories in that book that fit so many different things, and there's one in there about books and how this group of banditos flew around and landed at odd places in the country where people were throwing away books and things, and they were taking them back to their secret library so they could keep it and learn from them. Mike says he bought cookies at the store today. What kind of cookies did you buy? Let's see here. I can't print that. I can't put that up yet. There it is. The puppy's good. I got to get some pictures this weekend and post them. Things have been very hectic here the past couple of weeks. I bet that puppy's growing too. I bet are its feet as big as its head yet? Chloe is making me rock her so one-handed typing. Yeah, she does that, Carol. I know people think we're crazy, but she rocked those kittens when they were little. She'd sit in her chair upstairs in her sewing room and rock them. And while she was reading something or on the computer or something, and then ever since then, that one in particular just loves to be rocked. Milk chocolate cookies. Well, they can't go wrong. Oh, there you go, there you go, Tony. The baking stream. I might come up and join you for that. You want a guest? I ordered Girl Scout cookies last week, so they should arrive soon. I wanted to get some Girl Scout cookies down here a week or so ago when I was at the store. Hey, Cherie, welcome in. And I didn't have any cash on me at the moment, although I'm sure they're set up to do credit cards by now. This was a booth out front of the Kroger. Oh, sorry, guys. I got to quit that whistling. I'll listen to the song later. Maybe I can get it out of my head. It's part of that's Hallelujah then that version is Pentatonics. Pentatonics, yes. It's a good version of the song. Cherie, Brenda and I are going to be down around Charleston in a couple of weeks. I don't know how far we'll get to go up or down the coast, but Tony, you got that figured out, my friend. That's the best gig right there in the house. Just sit back, monitor chat, and wait for fresh cookies. I mean, how much better than that does it get? I smell these are peanut butter cookies, and I smell them from here. Which, I mean, obviously I'm in the same house, but I'm on a different floor. I'll do that, Cherie. We're going to actually be down there in the middle of the week, so who knows? The joys of parenting. That's, Carol, my kids never did do that. Mike, we don't have any set plans, but we live close, so we can always get over there. We've thought about buying season tickets again. We used to get season tickets when Brenda was still working for the school, we could get season tickets pretty cheap. So if you guys are down this way, you bet you will be going to Dollywood or wherever else you want to go. If we are able, I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't be. Tony says, all my kids can bake and cook. I'm good deal. Hey, there's Garrett. Welcome in, Mr. Monarch Moments. I'm off on Wednesdays and Thursdays, so let me know if you can make it. Okay, we will. Thank you, Sherry. This will be our first big adventure away from the house, and since I had my accident and surgery and everything, so we'll see how it goes. I'm a little nervous, but we're going to go. Brenda may have to just flop me on the beach somewhere and walk around and come back and roll me over once in a while. Oh, Mike, I got some places we can go for that. There's a few good places around. There's some that are just, so, but actually down this way, even a McDonald's has pretty decent biscuits and gravy. Of course, the gravy is probably made from a pack, but yeah, I guess your power's back on, Garrett? How long was it off? Oh, I hope so. I know Brenda will because she's going down to look for shark's teeth and seashells. As long as she finds some, we'll be happy. That's the main thing. We're going down for on my birthday for her beach trip. So it was off overnight, Garrett, and then came back on. Oh, absolutely, Mike. Does yours not? I'm guessing you're pulling my leg that yours doesn't have biscuits and gravy. About every quick serve place in this part of the country has biscuits and gravy. Yeah. Yes, we do, Diana. I promise. 2 days it was out. Wow. No wonder you've been kind of quiet. Okay, so it was off Tuesday morning until last night. I got you. I was going to say, I didn't think you called me till Tuesday last night. No, I guess it was Tuesday evening you could call me. That's a pretty good while to be out. Did your freezers and refrigerators stay cold enough? Biscuits and gravy sounds like a Widowmaker. Could be, Garrett, but people up here have been eating that for breakfast for hundreds of years. So, it's not, well, I guess it's not a Canadian thing, Diana. That's true. Mark's always on me to get him a steak biscuit from Hardee's. They have a version of Hardee's out his way, but they don't sell steak biscuits. He probably was, Mike. He gets uppity sometimes like that. Frozen duck heads. Now you can't throw a line like that in here, Carol, and not explain it. I got the generator going, thought it was only going to be a day, so wanted to save something in the fridge. Plus they were saying Friday, oh my. Sawmill gravy and biscuits, you gotta really go away. You probably wouldn't get that at McDonald's. That's good old fashioned, made from country ham kind of gravy. That's the best kind. I've been craving some fried mushrooms. Slap some butter and syrup on a mushroom. Michelle bought duck heads and has been saving them for a special occasion. Oh my word. Okay. Sounds good. That might be, if that happens, I may have to really make sure I see that show. I had a freezer thaw out one time, and it was discovered that inside the freezer were bobcat pelts and rattlesnake hides and an elk hide and things like that didn't make anybody real happy when they found them. Butter syrup on a mushroom. Saute coffee mushrooms. I don't know if I can do that, Tony. You might have me on that one. Oh, fried mush. Frozen duck heads. All right, guys. I'm gonna jump right in here and talk a little bit, and whether anybody talks back, I guess we'll find out. But this is probably controversial even in this room, but I'm still going to bring it up because that's just how I am. Diana, the duck heads are permanently emblazoned on my memory. Carol, I'm glad you mentioned it because I didn't know about the duck heads. Okay. I was watching a show on television today that came out a couple of days ago, and we're talking about several things. And it got me to looking for some other things about the state of my beloved state of Tennessee here, which is another reason why you're probably right, Mike. I'm probably not as good a Tennessean as I should be, but oh well, that's just how it works. And it was about, so it put me on a little bit of a mission. I didn't realize this. There's been a lot of talk, and we even talked last week about the state of Florida banning books about drag queens going in, and not just books, but drag queens going into schools and reading books to kids and that sort of thing, and what we kind of thought about that. But I didn't realize that Tennessee passed one of the first anti-drag queen books in the country earlier in the year, or at least in this current run of such things. And on March 13th, the Senate passed Senate Bill 1440, which is an attempt to codify sex as a person's mutable biological sex as determined by anatomy and genetics existing at time of birth, and evidence of a person's biological sex helps to allow more discrimination against LGBTQ plus people. And we've passed 14 laws, anti-LGBTQ laws in the state. And they passed one, or maybe it's out of the House, an anti-gay and drag queen bill is also in the works, or maybe got signed. Maybe that's actually the one that got signed in earlier. And there's actually quite a few more in the pipeline. So once folks in this state that have that bent to them got lined up and realized there was a chance of getting things like that passed, and our current governor has shown a great desire to pass such things, they've lined up now with a whole book full of stuff that God knows what they'll end up passing. And I say that in all sincerity, and I have no doubt that they'll at least try to. There's not a lot of resistance there. Well, let our kid, Tony said here, Alexander is going to dress up as a drag queen. What? Alexander? We don't have an Alexander. Oh, we have an Alexander, but he's a different guy. Well, let our kids watch Mrs. Doubtfire, but now someone in drag is an issue. I know, Tony. Isn't that the truth? Mrs. Doubtfire was considered a really good movie, and I think it was award at least nominated for a lot of things. And we saw it when it came out in the 80s, and considered that it was a funny and actually had a good story. It was I thought a good story, and now who knows? That might even be banned in the state of Tennessee if they brought it. Hey, Doug, welcome in. Zippity Doo Doug has joined us, folks. Welcome in, Doug. But it just, to me, it's starting to get more and more distressing, I guess, because of how. And I do know there's mixed feelings about that, and age appropriateness is an issue, and I don't disagree with that. There are certain things about transgender or transsexual trans people that is very controversial. Some are with me also. I mean, I can't deny that there are some things going on in that realm that I don't think are fair, especially when it comes to the world of sports. But at the same time, it really does bother me when we start discriminating against a group of other Americans. I mean, they're still Americans, they're still American citizens, whether you happen to like how they want to live or not. And it just, not to mention the fact that, once when I was a kid, we'd call people busybodies if they wanted to try to tell you how to live your life. Well, Diana, there's another good point. He did that quite often. Maybe there's one thing, Tony, but going into schools is another. I don't disagree there either, Doug, but I think that depends. I do think that depends on age level, and it depends on what they're actually doing. I saw a clip where there was a person dressed in drag who was dancing in quite lewd fashion and with kids there, little kids. And that certainly doesn't belong in those age groups. I agree 100%. In fact, I don't think that should happen in the school period, even up through high school. And that's not because I'm a prude. It's just because I don't know why you would. Now, to talk about it and have discussions about it with students who are willing to think and try to reason out such things, I do think it's legitimate. Now, and there I'm talking high school age students, but just to trying to ban anyone from dressing in drag at any level for any reason, even a show downtown that's in a bar where you can't get in unless you're 21 or 18 or over, or 21 and over, depending on the situation, I think is a bit. Well, I think it's asinine, and I think that's out of line. And I'm not trying to pick a fight with anybody. I don't think that's kosher. But I do think there have to be limits to that. A clown. I mean, when you think about people dressed in drag, I mean, clowns, and way back before clowns were scary, there was always a couple of clowns in the crowd dressed up as women, in a circus or in that kind of an event. And the way some of these laws are being written right now, that's illegal. You can't do that anymore. And I just have to wonder where that stops, or if it does. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe we just keep going till we've got everything that whoever's in power currently gets outlawed that they don't agree with. We're certainly fighting a lot of those battles right now. Sometimes it almost feels like, since it became illegal, well, it's supposed to be illegal to discriminate against anybody in this country. And when you read those laws, they're not specific on gay men or drag queens or anybody else, but it's almost like once civil rights happened and we weren't and discriminating against blacks got much tougher for some people, which is a bad way to put that. They had to find somebody else to pick on. But are we talking about drag or dressed as women? Well, that's probably a good question, Diana. Because right now they're just saying drag and they're including both. It doesn't have to be a drag queen as in a performing person. It's either right now the way most of these laws are being written. In general, I think we just need to treat all people with dignity and respect. As a teacher, I think we need to look at what is age appropriate as far as, and I agree, Carol, and this is the thing I've been wanting to say, and I think there is concern about people in drag in schools reading to children at certain age groups. And my question is, why does that happen? I mean, aren't the teachers responsible for trying to work with that, or the age groups making sure it's appropriate for their classes? And I know some people are going to say, "Oh no, we can't do that anymore because we're too woke." And if you're woke, you got to permit all that. And I don't think that's true at all. I don't even think people know what woke means. But you hear so many different reasons for being woke, and it just drives me up the wall sometimes. But I don't think that's it. But and I have to wonder how if you've got a drag performer in a classroom dancing in front of kids in a lewd fashion, who let her in the classroom, or who invited that person in to do that in front of kindergartners? That's got to go back to the school, the probably not going to say parents, even though it could have been, or somebody has to take responsibility besides just passing a blanket law that says no, you can't do this. Unfortunately, the same people who are complaining are the same parents who allow their children to get nose piercings and tattoos because they want to be the cool parent. I've seen that too, Tony. I think that's a really good point. Sorry, guys. I'm getting a little bit. Let me turn my camera off just for a second. I got to adjust my cushion. But I'll still be here talking and reading. Don't think I'm not watching you guys every minute. One moment. Okay, I'm back. I decided to take the moment to also take care of a nasal issue there. I'm back. Spitball coming at you. So, no, Tony does it. I don't know about Doug. Is he or Doug? Who's in? Is there anybody in here that's in Florida? My God, and that's certainly not the only place this is going on. I mean, here, like I said, Tennessee is passing laws right and left. They're passing bathroom laws and sporting event laws, and I do agree with some of that. I'll be honest with you, for the case last year, the NCAA swimmer who was transgender but was swimming with women, but he had only been transgender for like a year. And if you saw her, she's a well-developed man, and I do think that was a bit unfair of women, because you can tell the difference as soon as you see them, how much more masculine, muscled, and just things that men have anatomically that are different. And I do have to. Diana's in Florida in her head. Well, come on down. I thought Florida was actually part of Canada for a long time, Diana. I wish I was in Florida. You two are thinking a lot there. Hey, Amy, welcome in. I think there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions going on both ways to things that are happening. And I do think that's usually the case when you've got societal changes happening as rapidly as they have in the last 10 years or so. And there's Jennifer Caruso. Welcome in, Jennifer. I'm wondering if somebody's let somebody out and they sent them over this way. If they did, I appreciate that. Or maybe they're just coming in, which are always welcome. Garrett, I'm going to put that up just so everybody can look and see what you're trying to sell. I don't know if anybody's buying that, Garrett. You're selling it, but I'm not sure anybody's going to buy it. But if they do, then I appreciate it because I love them. I don't know if you are new here. This is my nighttime chat where I'm trying to make an effort to talk about a few things once in a while that are harder than what we mostly want to talk about when we're online. And we've got a fairly small group, but I'm welcoming anybody who wants to come in and listen or talk or join in. We have rules. I haven't posted those lately. Maybe I should run those by everybody just to make sure. And we just have good open chat here amongst us adults, and we have rules that nobody can hate on anybody because that's not what we're here for. I just thought there ought to be a place where people could start getting together and talking a bit instead of just arguing most of the time about issues. And here we go. This was my title page. And there it is. And that was my title page. But the one I wanted to get to really was this one. Oh, no, not this one. Although I should have mentioned this earlier, please hit the like button or the dislike button if you choose. And while you're there, consider subscribing to the channel. And one more thing, please accept and follow the rules listed next. And here we are. And this is what I set up when this chat started. It's basically no matter the topic, we respect each other, no fighting. And if anybody starts a fight or an argument, you'll be removed from chat. I have some monitors that'll take care of that. All topics, even religion and politics, the two subjects that I've always been advised to avoid, are open for some discussion, but must be within the above rules. And I'm asking folks to come in with an open mind. And, I may ask for volunteers to help mediate it at time, just as if needed, to maintain civil discussion and order. Anyone in the chat or online will be allowed to speak without being talked over. Honesty, no invasion of privacy. Violators will be reported and banned from chat, and no attempt to intimidate will be tolerated. And I know all those kinds of things can happen in these rooms, and I'm just not going to let that happen. So I wanted to make that clear up front when I started this chat, and so far we've managed to do a pretty good job of that. And so I'm trying to keep it that way. And maybe that way people. Thank you, Amy. Gotcha, Garrett. And he says he was going to tell you the same thing, Amy, but we all know better. Oh, me. Garrett, your reputation precedes you, my friend. I suppose. But I have to say, I've not known Garrett to come in and start a fight. And, you don't have to participate. You don't have to speak. You don't have to, make an opinion. You're always and you're welcome to write to me in private. Send me a DM on, I guess, Instagram would be the best place. Now, here's Garrett's rule for this stream. I didn't hear read one rule. Okay, Garrett, gotcha. When I started this, I wanted to try to figure out how you do this and how do you try to make it civil. So I thought I would start with some rules. Now, whether that happens or not, I guess that's up to you or me if I forget to show it. Garrett says he's here to cause problems, but not really. He might like you to think that, but he's really not. Although he might help keep things moving from time to time. Garrett the troublemaker. But anyway, that's kind of what tonight is about. I'm certainly welcome to hear your opinions. And if you are personally aware of something, that's happened in a school near you or that's questionable in your state, by all means, bring it up. If I don't understand it or if we haven't heard it, I'll certainly go look it up. You can bet on that. Garrett says, it's my channel. I haven't been deputized to put down Mike C. No, but you're my pick. If Mike C gets out of hand, I'm sicking you on him, Garrett, because I've kind of got a feeling if it comes down to betting, I'm going to put my money on Mike. Just saying. Nothing personal. I'll send Mike to get you in his hot rod. Well, former hot rod. Which I heard more about yesterday, which I find fascinating. I didn't know Canadians did that sort of thing. I thought that was just, crazy Americans that did things like that. But anyway, that's just some of my thoughts on the subject. I was disappointed, but not too surprised that my home state is leading the way in anti-legislation of various kinds. That's just the anti-LGBTQ plus and the drag bans and stuff is just a small part. There's a whole lot more going on. Mike, I would never, if it was between you and Garrett, I would never not bet on you, buddy. I can tell you that right now. Or if it was you versus me, I'd still bet on you. In fact, I know I would. There are so many controversial things in this country these days that just disturb me and millions of others. on both sides of whatever political fence we look over, that to go after something like this, maybe because it's easy right now. There's so many state houses and the U.S. Senate and things that are controlled by one side. Maybe it's easy to go after those things, and something like gun control or somehow enacting laws to help enforce laws about gun violence are too hard. I don't know. There's Tina. Her computer is up and down. I'll be here as much as I can. Also, side note, my dad's in the hospital. Oh no, Mike. Tina. Mike's dad's been in the hospital. Sorry to hear that, Tina. We'll all be thinking about him and sending prayers that way. Mike says he can't believe the stuff goes on in this day and age. What I see on TV is so sad. It really is, Mike. I mean, it's I just heard something. Well, it sounded like Teddy, but Teddy's here beside me. Hey, Tony, thanks for coming by, buddy. See you again real soon. Yeah, we've got several members, guys, that have family and friends that are, maybe in the hospital or having some issues. Well, that's a rough time to be doing something like that, Tina. Really sorry to hear that. And what is Miss Brenda saying? Not feeling too great. I almost lost my dinner. Oops. Well, Brenda, I hate to know that too. I didn't know that. She's upstairs and I'm downstairs, so I don't know everything that's going on. Doug says, I look at it this way. Everyone has a right to be whatever they want, but if it infringed on others, it's not good. I agree there, Tony. Doug, I don't disagree with that. Example is biological boys playing in girl sports. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that totally. I mean, maybe I don't disagree with that at all. I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest. I mean, if a young boy is chromosome wise or has been transitioning before puberty, which I guess is what they're trying to stop, but if that is the case, then he's not going to have nearly the advantage over girls as the young man and the woman, whatever, in college, who was a grown man before he ever started to transition. So he grew up a man full of testosterone and muscles and all that. And I just don't see that. I think that's wrong. And I think that is, I don't know why. I don't think that's inclusion. I think that's common sense. I don't think that's, no, I don't agree with that. I agree with you, Doug. I don't think that's right either. Oh, well, Carol. There's some issues with my dad as well. I've been FaceTiming with my siblings to bring us to our next steps and how we approach them with my mom. Oh, man. I'm sorry to hear that too, Carol. I tell you what, it sounds like we're all having a rough winter. And I sympathize. I've been through that. I lost my parents within, I guess 3 years of each other, something like that. My dad was 90 when he passed away. My mom was about 80, probably 83 or 84, 85 when she died. And mom had really bad Alzheimer's. I mean, she didn't know anybody, and it was so hard. I hope none of you are going through that, but if you are, then I certainly sympathize. But any health issues at those ages are just so hard to work with. I mean, even if your parents don't have Alzheimer's, they still often have a hard time understanding what's going on and what, things that people are trying to tell them and do. And if they don't, then good on them. My friend Phil's mother died in her 80s, and she was sharp as a tack till the day she passed away. It was amazing. I mean, lucky amazing in that she didn't have any of those kind of issues. She was an interesting and good person in that regard. She was sharp, and I enjoyed talking to her a lot and knowing her. And I probably shouldn't. I need to learn not to say people's names, I guess. And I should have just said a good friend. But it's hard. It is hard when hey, Ronald. I'm going to assume that Ronald Caruso and Jennifer Caruso are related. And I won't make any other assumptions till told otherwise. Hey, but well, he got up, turned around, and laid back down. I didn't even catch him. And none of these things that we're talking about, or at least most of them we're talking about, aren't new. It's just that in trying to be more accepting, they're more open, more public, and that causes people to see them more, to be out in the open, forces people to think. But is it ethical to allow a boy to say he feels like a girl at 11 years old, to stop the natural maturity when we don't tell a girl who has anorexia that we agreed they are fat? I think you're on something there, Tina. I have to think about how you worded that. It's going to allow a boy to say he feels like a girl at 11. Just stop that. Well, I think those are, while they might not sound like the same thing right off the cuff, they are very similar. And I think it is a good point. I mean, we do. I mean, when you get away from all these other issues, you get right down to the issues of growing up, period. And things like eating disorders are very real with girls and young women. It's amazing to me how often that is a reality that we don't even realize is going on. I don't know how many of you watch ABC News ever, but they have a weather reporter on there who's written some books about her own personal struggles with eating and mental health in general, and she's in a business where a few years ago you would have never heard somebody talk about that. And I think those are all valid issues that need to be opened up for discussion. And I don't know if this is anywhere near your point, Tina, but how would you pass a law that somehow said that a girl who, I hate to say girl, I know that's not oh hell, I grew up in a different age. A girl of that age that has got anorexia, I mean, how could you pass a law that says, somehow that's illegal and that you've got to force them to eat or force feed them or do something that somehow wouldn't allow that, when, I mean, you couldn't. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be helping them. I think you should. They need help. And they needed help before they got to that point. And unfortunately, it's often just sometimes everyday people that say things and make them feel that way. I mean, I took a lot of hell growing up just because I was husky, even from my own parents sometimes. And I mean, that very well could have really caused mental issues here. I guess it just depends on your makeup, your how you take things. But I know that feeling feeling not good enough was something I struggled with most of my life. I mean, I often felt like somehow I wasn't getting the job done, or I wasn't. So it probably made me work harder in a lot of ways. And but with my dad, I love my dad and my mother, but I never felt like I lived up to my dad's what's the word I'm looking for here? Expectations that somehow, he always complained about my weight, even back before I really felt like I was that overweight. I mean, he questioned my desire to go back to college. Uh, when that happened, I got laid off and we went back to school. And I mean, there was just all kinds of things. And I'm sure he never thought for a moment that was putting pressure on me in any way. As for Alzheimer's, yeah, my dad is having oh man, that's so hard, Tina. I'm so sorry you're going through that. I haven't been through that. I would never, ever wish that on anybody. My worst enemy, I don't think I could wish that on them. Okay, what did I just miss? Hey, Dean, good evening. Are you going to be on tonight at 9 o'clock? I was assuming you would be, but I did not ask. We already have what we need, but we don't have enough. In all cases, we need more mental help in our society. It's all about throwing pills at the problem now, not counseling. That's the easy answer, isn't it, Tina? Just throw pills at it. And oh, well, I hate that too, Mike. I know what you're going through a lot right now with your mom and dad. Dean will be live at 9, folks. So when we leave here tonight, we can head on. I encourage you to head over and visit with Dean for a little while. Hear a story. Go from mean and serious Tim down to a nice mellow storybook, which will calm everybody down and feel better. Anyway, those are the things I throw these things out there and and ask that you think about them and look at them, try to look at them from a broader perspective. I know that there are topics that we don't always agree upon, and that people don't agree with me on everything. And while I may not ever agree with them, I try to at least look at it and try to figure out a perspective that makes sense and not automatically condemn them for it. I think all I ask is that they do the same. And Tina says it was a different age then, Tim, but I think we were raised to be tougher and in many ways stronger mentally to deal with the problems of growing up. Well, that's been you okay. I think that's true, Tina. I mean, I think I think in many ways, and I'm not saying this to isolate people or to say somehow we're better people, but I think in many ways our generation, the boomer generation, I would have to say, grew up on the tail end of huge changes in the social fabric of this country. My parents were Depression era kids. They grew up during the Depression when things were really bad and nobody had anything. And then they went through World War II, and a lot of they lost their parents, or my dad and my mom's dad was in World War I, And fortunately, he came home. But right before them in Tennessee, it was still almost like being a pioneer until the TVA came along in the 30s. Most people in Tennessee didn't have electricity if you didn't live in town. So we grew up on the fringe of something different, which I think by nature of our parents, they wanted us to be tougher. They wanted us to be able to deal with the things they had to deal with. We're now at a stage where those things aren't as relevant, or they don't seem to be as relevant. So I don't think we're passing that along, or the people beneath us aren't passing it along. I don't know if my kids were tough enough to grow up the way we did. And I tried to, you know, pass some things along. Jennifer Crusoe said we just had Ron's mom for dinner. Not she's 97 and her bless she's doing great. That's good, Jennifer. I'm so glad to hear that. And Tina, don't you ever come in here and say you're sorry because you came in like a wrecking ball. Um, you know, your opinion is valued in here, same as everybody else's. And I don't want you coming in here feeling like you've disrupted or came in late. You know better. You're never late. And besides that, usually when you're not in here, you still know what's going on. And you're probably one of the few people out there I know that if you don't get in the show, you probably go out and watch it and listen to it later. So you know you're fine, and I appreciate your thoughts on that, and I'm sure everybody else does too. But you're certainly welcome to come in and discuss anything. And you know, like you said, you've had a rough week as a teacher. I agree about that to an extent. However, many of today's youth have not had the same experiences. These kids often don't get much interaction with their parents. It's a good point. I know a lot of kids that haven't done that. They grow up, both parents are at work. They're in daycare from the age of 3 on till they're out of high school, they're gone, and then they're off to college. That's a really good thought. I mean, I have to be honest about that. Probably I was with my mother, and I know all kids my age weren't, but I was with my mother's, 5 days, 7 days a week until I went to the first grade. I didn't even have kindergarten. So, I think that does make a huge difference. Well, Tina, I don't feel bad about it. And if you want this, then apology accepted and move on. I don't want you feeling bad. I want you to come in, so I don't want you coming in feeling bad, whatever time it is. I missed something that I must have missed something Doug said about the Monarchs there, or at least about like all people. Well, maybe not some from San Jose. Okay, there you go. There you go, Garrett. He did. That's true, Doug. You did say some. Mike is the wrecking ball. Tim lets him in all the time. You aren't a wrecking ball. That's true. I let Mike in, and he's kind of like Wreck-It Ralph. I know you do, Tina, and I really appreciate it. I know you do. For one, I'm glad to see you whenever and however you arrive. Good. Thanks, Carol. Garrett, the rough week. Go ahead and take it out on Tim. We all allow it. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. By all means, I don't mind that a bit. I'm pretty much used to that. I get Brenda ever since I've been gimped up and crippled and can't get up and around. Brenda beats on me like a rug. No child should have a childhood memories of being tough. Those aren't good for the soul in the long run. Certainly, well, maybe not, Mike. Well, I think it depends on the level of tough. I mean, I think my parents wanted me to be tough in the sense that I knew life could be hard, and it took a lot of hard work most of the time. And if you look at it from the perspective of where my parents came from, they were kind of hard scrabble. Their parents worked their butts off to have a farm and feed their kids and all that. So I mean, I think they just wanted me to know how to do those kinds of things and be a little tough. I get so frustrated when I see parents who are working all day and have their noses in their phones, even when they can be with their kids. Yeah, and I have to admit, I worked a lot of hours when I wish I could have been with my kids, and and I wasn't near as bad as some. I had a stay-at-home mom and and you played and ran with your kid friends all day, all week, uh, and we didn't have video games, and I'll say it, we didn't have computers, but we read books, or some of us did, and if we didn't do that, then we were out running wild in the woods, in my case, and out, just doing things like that. And scraped knees weren't a big deal, and you just kept going most of the time. I mean, I had some rough bicycle wrecks where I had to push the bike home and dig rock out of my knees, but I didn't just run home because I had it, or they didn't call an ambulance to come get me. You have never been to San Jose. You would love it. Yes, Jennifer, I see that every day. Kids go to school and then to daycare. Hard when both parents have to work. It is, and it is a huge. I do believe that is a huge change in how the children of America and a lot of places are raised today versus how people my age or near my age were raised, or people in this chat. And I know we've spanned a fairly wide range in here. I'm not sure who the youngest is, but good point, Tina. Fortunately, not all kids had it that lucky. Yeah. Yeah, Doug, I didn't even like small towns when I grew up. I thought that was I've lived in big towns now, but I didn't want that. All right. Good night, Cherie. Have a good evening. Say hi to James. And what time is it? It is 52. We got 8 minutes, guys. I'm gonna wind it up at 9. Most of the time that's about when my voice fails anyway at night. I'll just interject this on here. I'll be live in about 10 minutes for some fun St. Patrick's Day stories. And I hope you did notice, anybody came in late, I do have my Irish flag up for tomorrow. And I hope everybody has a wonderful St. Patrick's Day. If you live in a part of the country where they really celebrate St. Patrick's Day, have fun and be safe. If you're someplace where they paint the rivers green or dye the rivers green, I'd suggest not to drink the water. At least not from that town. At least not until it gets washed out to sea. I saw something in the last couple of days. They were showing how, I guess it's Boston, how they go up and dye the water green. I've never seen anything like that. Down here, we never had St. Patrick's Day parades or anything like that. I mean, the closest, I told Tina this the other day, or Saturday night we were talking about this, but the closest I got to St. Patrick's Day celebration was in school, and you got to pinch each other if we didn't have on green. Otherwise, St. Patrick's Day was just another day. We paint the middle of the main road green. Seriously, they do that just for tomorrow, Tina? That's interesting. Oh, you don't drink the green water. I wish I'd known that first. Not unless it's in a punch bowl at at something and your mom made it. And it's got green sherbet. Close enough, Garrett. We'll just let it go with that. What did Diana say? I missed something. Our river is always green. Well, I'd like to say ours aren't anymore, but I don't know if that's true. And Doug says you need to go to a doctor, Garrett. There's always got to be one, right, in every crowd. There's always got to be one guy peeing green. Oh, me. And the guy calls you in for the drug test and you're trying to get somebody to go in for you. Tina says, we never pinch people here if they didn't wear green. A lot of them are Italians, and they'll hit you if you pinch them. Well, I get that. But do the Italians wear green anyway? That's my question, because I wonder if they maybe wouldn't. It's talking about green pea in compliance with the chat rules. Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question, Carol. I know one thing. Any more of that, and we'll have to pass out the parent permission slip and get everybody to sign it, like we do on Saturday mornings. No, it was painted green for last Saturday for the parade. Oh, is this the first year they've done it, Tina? Maybe they're trying to start a new tradition. No, Carol's right. Garrett says he did break a rule. All right, you're on probation, Garrett. Oh man, you're a mod too. What are we gonna do with you? Okay, Jennifer's asking Ron if he wears green tomorrow. Is that a joke, inside joke? Maybe he wears a green uniform or something. Well, green pea people are all that matter. Oh, now we're going to start a whole new line of better. You're better if you pea green. I had a shamrock shake a couple of days ago, actually. So it's how long does it last, Tina? I mean, is it regular road paint and last most of the year? Or does it just wash away in a few days? Oh, Ron is Italian. Okay, I get it. I should have figured that out, Jennifer. I'm not very quick sometimes. That's a good question. So, Ron, do Italians wear green on St. Patrick's Day? Did Garrett just say Carol is right? He did, Carol. I read it. I saw it. I think I even posted it. I need to go print out this chat and frame it before I would do a toggle timestamp for you if I knew how to do that. Well, Jennifer, you by all means wear your green and be proud of it. That's why I've got my flag flying. That's why it disturbed me when they said some flags are wrong. I just found out how close my Irish is. They just came over here 2 generations ago, and I was wanting to fly my flag and be proud of it. And then I thought they were telling me I had the wrong flag. Kind of hurt my feelings. Yeah, everybody, hit the thumbs up button if you don't mind. And like I said before, hit the don't like button if you need to. Because I don't, if you don't like me, then tell me and we'll talk about it. What do you get when you mix Polish, Irish, and Japanese together? I don't know, Garrett. What do you get? What could you get? Some kind of weird sake, I'm guessing. You don't know the answer either. Sorry about the dings if you guys are hearing them. I'm getting all kinds of messages for some reason. That's probably true, Ron. I didn't really think about that. Did Garrett ever have an answer about what you do? Oh, his kids. Well, I personally think you've got pretty good kids, so. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to say goodnight. Hope everybody goes over and says hi to Dean. And if you don't, then, so be it. Monarch Moments will be on tomorrow night. Garrett, do you have anything to say about tomorrow night's show before you leave? I don't know, Doug. Do you do a show? Because I apologize, or Ron and Jennifer, I don't know for sure. If you do, please, well, you can't. If you do, feel free to send TD Pruitt 1957 on Instagram a link, and I'll post it. And if you don't, I mean, if you have something coming up, then just tell us, and we'll try to be there. Tina, if you've got the Monarch Moments link, put it up there too. Your only friend. Oh, Garrett, that hurts, buddy. That cuts deep. Your only friend. Mike is your only friend. Okay. I'll remember that next time you call me in the middle of my dinner. Well, thank you, Carol. Oh, absolutely, Garrett. You're welcome. Put it if you've got something. I don't remember exactly what you guys were doing tomorrow night, but by all means, let us know. And I know you. I know you've got a thumbnail already out. And I just wanted to give you a chance to bring it up. Watch me. I'm the best at being a pain in the rear. You're not even on the show. We can't watch you, Garrett. It's just your wife and kids, or kid, whichever the case may be. Garrett doesn't pick up my phone calls when I phoned him now. See, now he's calling you his best friend, only friend in here, and I answer even when I'm eating my dinner. Boys drool, girls drool. Ron is cool too. All right, guys. I'm going to say goodnight, and thank you all for coming here. I love y'all. Take care this week. If you're having family problems, everybody send your prayers and thoughts up their way. Everybody can always use a hand. And if you guys need anything and I can help you, or you just want to talk, you let me know. I'm here. I'm retired and I'm home most of the time. So I'm just about always around. Hey, there's Brian. You're just about to miss us, Brian, because we're getting ready to go out. Anyway, good night, everybody. See you again next time. Hope to see some of you Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. Saturday Morning Shines. Got a new topic this week, and it's not about poo-poo. Good night.